Black lives matter for so many reasons. First, we are humans with an unbelievable capacity to love and forgive under the most heinous conditions, while helping to build a country that has been determined to suppress our growth and even cut off our very lives. We were captured, brought across a treacherous ocean, enslaved, and forced to toil a foreign land. With backs bent low and ailing bones, our broken spirits were stripped of dignity and severely humbled, so that America could grow affluent, arrogant, and overly proud, with white Americans never acknowledging the Africans' stolen talent, stolen skills, and stolen intelligence. The following information comes from the United States Library of Congress. Africans brought the skills and trades of their homeland to North America, and their expertise shaped the industry and agriculture of the continent. West Africans with experience navigating the waterways of their homeland helped open the rivers and canals of the northwest frontier to boat traffic. Seasoned African cattle drivers were able to apply their skills to ox teams and livestock. Many Africans were deeply familiar with large-scale rice and indigo cultivation, which were completely unknown to European Americans. Without the skills of Africans and their descendants, the rice fields of South Carolina and Louisiana might never have existed. All the most crucial things in the lives of the enslaved African American, from the dignity of their daily labor to the valor of their resistance, from the comforts of family to the pursuit of art, music, and worship, all had to be accomplished in the face of slave society's attempt to deny their humanity.
Today, we want to share the life of a brilliant writer and social activist whose contributions are lauded internationally, Langston Hughes documented the souls of Black lives in his writing.
My people, the night is beautiful. So, the faces of my people. The stars are beautiful. So, the eyes of my people. Beautiful also is the sun. Beautiful also are the souls of my people.
I grew up hearing about Langston Hughes from my grandmother all the time. She was only 3 years younger than Hughes. She never met him, but she certainly loved his poetry. And Grandma loved to talk about Langston Hughes. In church, she recited his poems. I, too, grew to be enchanted with the work of Mr. Hughes. Over the years, I created a mixed media collage collection that illustrated his poetry. This is a photo of my grandmother and grandfather. I dedicated this illustration to my grandparents.
Reasons why. Just because I loves you, that's the reason why. My soul is full of color, like the wings of a butterfly. Just because I loves you, that's the reason why. My heart's a fluttering aspen leaf when you pass by.
This poor man looks good, but
Dressed up. I have my clothes clean, just like new. I put them on, but I still feels blue. I bought a new hat, sure is fine, but I wish I had back that old gal of mine. I got new shoes that don't hurt my feet, but I ain't got nobody for to call me sweet.
Langston Hughes wrote poetry about the painful experiences of Black people.
The Negro. I am a Negro, black as the night is black, black like the depths of my Africa. I've been a slave. Caesar told me to keep his doorsteps clean. I brushed the boots of Washington. I've been a worker. Under my hand, the pyramids arose. I made mortar for the Woolworth building. I've been a singer all the way from Africa to Georgia. I carried my sorrow songs. I made ragtime. I've been a victim. The Belgians cut off my hands in the Congo. They lynch me still in Mississippi. I am a Negro, black as the night is black, black like the depths of my Africa.
Okay, we need to stop here because I cannot just slide by this poem. I was totally ignorant concerning the treachery of King Leopold and his cutting off the hands of Africans in the Congo until I read Langston's poem. I had to do the research because it sounded too crazy to be true. Look at these photos. This is one of the most sadistic forms of European greed, treachery, and brutality. Why was this done? The people weren't working fast enough. Leopold wanted to meet unheard of quotas. Yet, Africans were considered savages. Black lives clearly did not matter here. When I read the poem Long Trip, I wondered who was taking this journey across the sea. Long trip. The sea is a wilderness of waves, a desert of water. We dip and dive, rise and roll, hide and are hidden on the sea. Day, night, night, day. The sea is a desert of waves, a wilderness of water. Whoops, here we go. Then I began to think about the journey that Africans took to America as enslaved people. So I wrote the Middle Passage trip. My ancestors came by way of the sea. Their hearts dipped and dived. Their anxiety rose. Nowhere to hide or be hidden on the sea. The sea is a wilderness of waves. The ship is a prison on water. Day, night, night, day, captives on the sea. Whoops.
The enslaved labored in the hot sun and often sang work songs.
Sun song, sun and softness, sun and the beaten hardness of the earth, sun and the song of all the sun stars gathered together, dark ones of Africa. I bring you my songs to sing on the Georgia roads. Langston reminds this country not to forget that I, too, sing America.
I, too, sing America. I am the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes. But I laugh and eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow, I'll be at the table when company comes. Nobody'll dare say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I too am America.
Oh, the relationship between a mother and her son. I have a son too. Mother to son. Well, son, I'll tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it, and splinters, and boards torn up, and places with no carpet on the floor, bare. But all the time, I've been a-climbing on and reaching landings and turning corners. And sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. So boy, don't you turn back. Don't you sit down on the steps, 'cause you finds it kinda hard. Don't you fall now, for I'm still going, honey. I'm still climbing. And life for me ain't been no crystal stair. Black people were often verbally abused and made fun of. White people put on black-face makeup with painted white lips to mock the Negro as a form of entertainment. Sometimes blacks did this themselves to earn a living to survive. Black people had to smile at whites even when they were being humiliated. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen.
Minstrel man. Because my mouth is wide with laughter and my throat is deep with song, you do not think I suffer after I have held my pain so long. Because my mouth is wide with laughter, you do not hear my cry. Because my feet are gay with dancing, you do not know I die.
Hughes wrote novels, short stories, and plays, as well as poetry, and Langston loved jazz. He even wrote a children's book called The First Book of Jazz.
The Harlem Renaissance was known for the classic jazz that played in many of the halls, like the Cotton Club, the Savoy, and more. Langston listened to jazz at nightclubs, collaborated with musicians, and often held readings with jazz as accompaniment. Langston performed his poem, Weary Blues, to music. He called this jazz poetry.
The weary blues, drone in a drowsy, syncopated tune, rocking back and forth to a mellow croon. I heard a Negro play down on Lenox Avenue the other night. By the pale, dull pallor of an old gas light, he did a lazy sway. He did a lazy sway to the tune of those weary blues. With his ebony hands on each ivory key, he made that poor piano moan with melody. Oh, blues, swaying to and fro on his rickety stool. He played that sad, raggy tune like a musical fool. Sweet blues, coming from a black man's soul. Oh, blues, in a deep song voice with a melancholy tone. I heard that Negro sing, that old piano moan. Ain't got nobody in all this world, ain't got nobody but myself. I's gonna quit my frowning and put my troubles on the shelf. Thump, thump, thump. When his foot on the floor, he played a few chords, then he sang some more. I got the weary blues. I can't be satisfied. Got the weary blues and can't be satisfied. I ain't happy no more. And I wish that I had died. And far into the night, he crooned that tune. The stars went out, and so did the moon. The singer stopped playing and went to bed, while the weary blues echoed through his head. He slept like a rock or a man that's dead.
Langston Hughes wrote many poems about dreaming. His most famous one is entitled Dreams.
Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken-winged bird that cannot fly. Hold fast to dreams, for when dreams go, life is a barren field frozen with snow. Langston Hughes knew the pain of a people who couldn't even imagine a dream in life, or suffered with the pain of hopelessness, hopeless, unfulfilled dreams because of life's oppression. Harlem is a poem that Langston wrote that is commonly known as a dream deferred. Lorraine Hansberry's play starring Ruby Dee and Sidney Poitier got its title, A Raisin in the Sun, from this poem. When we went to Ghana, we learned about the last bath, or ancestral river, where captives were taken before arriving at the dungeons called slave castles. What about their dreams? What about the things they had planned for their lives?
What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun, or fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat, or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load, or does it explode?
I wonder who Langston Hughes considered as the dream keeper. Maybe you have a special person who listens to your dreams and values them. Jim's mother, my mother-in-law, liked to recite this poem to me when I would share a plan or new idea. She would say, "Bring me all of your dreams, you dreamers. Bring me all of your heart melodies, that I may wrap them in a blue cloud cloth, away from the too rough fingers of the world." I was very curious about Langston's unusual sense of racial pride, because many light-skinned African Americans tried to pass for white, or certainly distance themselves from the race. I did some research and would like to share what I discovered. Langston lamented in his memoir that he was not black enough, not of 100% African ancestry.
Langston's maternal grandmother, Mary Patterson Langston, attended Oberlin College at a time when few women of any race were able to pursue higher education. Mary Patterson Langston's first husband died in John Brown's raid on Harper's Ferry. And her second husband, Langston Hughes's maternal grandfather, was an activist for abolition and black education. His grandmother often took her small grandson on her lap and told him stories about abolitionists and courageous slaves who struggled for their freedom. Her tales impressed upon Hughes the nobility of black people and the importance of stoicism and even laughter in the face of hardship.
Langston's parents separated when he was young. After graduating from high school in Cleveland in 1920, Hughes decided to travel to Mexico to be with his father. James Nathaniel Hughes had left the United States to escape racism, but also to distance himself from the African American community, whose culture he disdained. His son, who felt such pride in his African American heritage, found this self-loathing baffling. "I don't understand it," Hughes later wrote of his father's dislike of black culture, "because I was a Negro and I liked Negroes very much." On the train ride down to Mexico, as the car crossed the Mississippi River, Hughes looked out the window and thought of all that rivers had meant to black people. Slaves sold down the river in the pre-Civil War South, the Euphrates and the Nile in Africa, and wrote the poem, "The Negro Speaks of Rivers." I've known rivers. I've known rivers ancient as the world and older than the flow of human blood in human veins. My soul has grown deep like the rivers. I bathed in the Euphrates when dawns were young. I built my hut near the Congo, and it lulled me to sleep. I looked upon the Nile and raised the pyramids above it. I heard the singing of the Mississippi when Abe Lincoln went down to New Orleans, and I've seen its muddy bosom turn all golden in the sunset. I've known rivers. Ancient, dusky rivers. My soul has grown deep like the rivers. We'll let that play out.
On May 22nd, 1967, Hughes died in New York City at the age of 65 from complications related to prostate cancer. His ashes are interred beneath a floor medallion in the middle of the foyer in the Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture in Harlem. It is the entrance to the auditorium named for him. The design on the floor is an African cosmogram entitled Rivers. The title is taken from his poem, "A Negro Speaks of Rivers." Within the center of the cosmogram is the line, "My soul has grown deep like the rivers."
Langston Hughes was a literary genius. His life has had a huge impact on many other lives. He held great dreams for the Negro, who was never far from his thoughts or his writing. His contributions resonate with a voice that cries out, Black Lives Matter. Thank you.